if you succeed only as an entrepreneur and not as a human being, you did not succeed in life. Money only brings you pleasure, doesn't bring you happiness. Make mistakes, but admit your mistake.
George, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Antoine.
George Karam, entrepreneur, investor. You were born in Lebanon, came to Canada at a young age, and you ended up being a highly successful individual. And a lot of people look up to you, like myself. You really lived the Canadian dream. You co-founded a bunch of companies. You were able to scale tech companies, disrupted industries. So my question to you is, after all of that, what is the biggest lesson learned that you have after this enormous success?
Wow, this is the biggest question to ask. And it's funny you're mentioning, I mean, we're having this conversation now because I was reading, and that's why I was a minute late. I put the reminder. I was reading my book that I'm writing now. Uh, that bit talk about my experience, how I arrived to Canada. I hesitated for a couple of years. Recently, I've been asked to write the book. I was giving conferences and doing some coaching, and every time I talk to some entrepreneurs, they say, George, you have a fascinating story. Why don't you write a book? And how we have entrepreneurs sometimes, as much as we try to show confidence and we have to lead, we somehow we are sometimes insecure. And actually, insecurity, it's a strength if you use it the right way. And like for me, it was like, who am I? Like this, like, yes, maybe I did well, but to write a book. So, but after, 4, 5, 10 people telling you, why don't you write the story? I said, I owe it to my kids. I owe it to my parents. I want to, put my stories and
Mhm,
validate,
mhm,
like make it official. So over the holidays, I started writing the book, and make story short, it's actually I was reviewing the last version now. It's going to be available in September. It's in French though, in Montreal, and I'm very proud. When it's very rare that I talk about my own projects like other than work, and I was so excited to read my story. Uh, and it gives me a lot of I don't know, like how to say it. Like I was so proud to what I have accomplished from a business point of view. But the most important thing is, from a personal point of view, because for me, the biggest lesson at the end
mhm,
is if you succeed only as an entrepreneur and not as a human being, you did not succeed in life. And this is for me the biggest lesson, that I learned is to keep your
mhm,
values and stay true to yourself.
mhm. So it's not just about the money.
It's not about the money at all. And actually, a couple of weeks ago, I was invited for this podcast here in Montreal, which lasted 2.5 hours. And I've done many, and I get a lot of
Mhm,
positive feedback. And this one in particular, I had a lot of feedback from people because it touched them from a personal point of view. And for me, it was one thing from people that they don't know me, but when I heard it from some entrepreneurs that I've known for so many years, and like highly successful entrepreneurs, that they told me, George, we started listening to your podcast and we couldn't stop for 2.5 hours. And what we loved about it was that you are exactly the same person as you are in the meetings, as we know you for the last 15 years. So you are authentic. And this is for me also something, that I learned. A lot of people sometimes change, and money or success change them, and stay true to yourself, have your values, have this strong foundation is extremely important. And for me, you talk about the money. Money, I learned with time, money only brings you pleasure, doesn't bring you happiness. And this is where it's important,
Mhm.
is to uh, understand this. I did not come from a family of entrepreneurs. I left
Mhm.
Lebanon. I was 19 years old. So I didn't have the chance to have, let's say, my family or my dad as a mentor. And I made the mistake myself over the years. And, I became successful quite young. And of course, at the beginning, Lebanese, we like to show off too. It's part of our DNA, bought the watches, bought the car. But then I quickly realized that was really
Mhm.
pleasure short term. It did not give me the real meaning of success and happiness. And now I have my son that is 26 years old, Joseph, and he's working with me. And obviously, he was raised in an environment where life is a bit easier and he likes nice stuff like his dad too. And I went to him and I said, Joseph, this is a passage that you're gonna go through, but keep in mind that this is a short-term pleasure. Real happiness, you'll find it after. Keep in mind that whatever you are looking for now, buying watches again, or driving a nice car, this is not gonna last. Go through it, live it, but quickly understand that this is not the real success in life.
As a young 19-year-old that was basically alone, how did you know who would be the right mentor for you? How did you know who to listen to?
I did not know, honestly. I did not know because I did not have mentors at the beginning. And I think by making some mistakes that I learned who to listen to and who not to listen to. And I think the most important thing, even some people have mentors and many sometimes, if you don't have an open mind, you will not benefit of having mentors. And this is more important than having mentors because you could find mentoring in so many different places. You can, and especially now, you could find it by listening to Instagram stories, to TikTok, to reading books. You don't need to have a specific mentor to have, like this insights. What you need to have is an open mind. Uh, Observe, listen with curiosity, um, make mistakes, but admit your mistake. And this is for me the most important thing is not to have the mentor, is to recognize your errors and have confidence in recognizing and actually not only recognizing, telling about it, because this is also an extremely important for the leaders to have strong leadership and to have a team that trusts you. They need to know that you are able to recognize your errors. And if you take your team or if you lead your team in one direction, they will follow you when they know that at least if you go in one direction and that was the wrong one, you're gonna stop, you're gonna admit, and you're gonna make the changes necessary to go back into the right direction.
Do you still have that same drive and ambition you did when you were young, or does it plateau eventually?
A good question. I thought I want, like, so I'm 54 years old, almost 55. I started, like I said, my career early, started my first business at the age of 26, 27. Went back home to Lebanon after 10 years being in Canada. I came here in 1990. So in 2000, I took my family. I was married already, two kids, and went back to live in Lebanon and came back after 6 months. I realized quickly that I made a mistake, and I brought back my family, started another business in 2000, another one 2003, sold in 2012, started another one 2014, exited in 2018, bought another one in 2019, sold it in 2022. And then I said, that's it, khalas. It's, like it's enough. Three exit. How more lucky can I be? As you know, statistically already being an entrepreneur and, succeed, it's very difficult and it's very hard. Having a second exit and a third exit, I mean, the chance is really not on your side. And I was blessed, privileged, lucky that I was able to do it three times. So in one way, it was not only about the drive, it was about the fear of failing at some point. And so when I sold my last business, 2022 or 2023, I lost count now, like 2, 3 years ago. I said to myself, that's it, actually 2022, my God, time fly. So I went to Costa Rica. I was supposed to have time for myself, not doing stuff, just relax and start a transition, not to stop working, but to start the second half of my life. I've done a lot of reading, preparation in terms of finding meaning, moving from success to significance, start to share, start to do coaching, mentoring. So I ended up building boutique hotel for retreats in Costa Rica, and I was considering that as a like a no work or a retreat, like a retirement project for me. Although when I think about it, building a boutique hotel in a country that you don't know, it's not a small project. Even with all that, I was struggling all the time between should I come back to Montreal to build a business or not? And at some point, I said, you know what? If I'm still so much questioning whether I need to slow down now or I have to start, is that I'm not ready to slow down. And I still have, so I came back to Montreal a while ago, and I'm part of a private equity, and we're looking for acquisitions. And I have the same drive as I started 20 something years ago. But the expectations are different now. When you start with nothing, and first, people are not expecting anything from you, and you are almost not expecting from yourself too. Because for me, like I said, I didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs. I didn't have to prove to my family that I can carry on the business. If I failed, no one would ever know about it. So it was no stress, other than the stress that I'm putting on myself to be successful for my family. Now you have the you have partners they want to work with you. You have higher expectation because you've done it, multiple times before. So I have a different kind of stress and expectation when I start a project now.
As an investor, someone who's built companies, someone who's as a dragon, someone who's heard a lot of pitches, what's something you look for in an entrepreneur? What's a characteristic you look at and you say, that's very good. I want to invest in that person.
Well, obviously, the first thing you look at, or you have to make sure that he has the intelligence that is needed to manage and to lead a business. But more importantly, is to have an open mind. You need, I was talking earlier about having an open mind versus a closed mind, because when you don't have an open mind in business, as much as you can be or you are intelligent, I don't know any entrepreneurs started with a business plan and ended up being successful with the initial idea that that they had at the beginning. So having this open mind, having this curiosity to understand the market, to listen to the client, and to adjust their business plan is extremely important to be successful in business, because ideas, there's a lot of good ideas. I was actually coaching someone earlier that they had this idea, and they were wondering about some stuff that they want to do, and I said, guys, this is the first thing, yet you have to make sure that your founding team is solid, because ideas, there's tons of them. So you need to have the founding members of a team solid enough and knowledgeable about their market in order to have, like in order for investors to have confidence in them. So for me, it's like this intelligence, and not only from like in a market or from the industry, but also emotional intelligence that allows, those entrepreneurs to have this open mind, to communicate, to listen, to be humble. Those are the traits that I look at when I'm trying to assess an opportunity.
George, you said the success of an entrepreneur comes from his team. So, how do you build the right team? How do you know that as an owner, as a founder, you have a certain drive because it's your baby? How do you make sure that the people on your team have that same ambition and are willing to put as much effort as you are?
Well, if you think this way, you're gonna be frustrated all the time because, and I was like that at the beginning, and this is the advantage of being 55 rather than being 30 years old. And you realize that why would they want to be ambitious like you? You are the entrepreneur. If they had the same ambitions and drive, they would be themselves entrepreneurs. And I'll give you an example to compare because sometimes we have a very hard time to kind of understand, if you want, this concept or like accept it because we think that everyone can have the same drive. Because like drive and intelligence and work ethic, it's like a muscle too. Like it's easy to compare. Like if I go, you and me, to run, and you're an athlete, that you're a natural athlete, and you are much faster, and we run together, and you're faster than me, whatever you're gonna do and push me to be able to follow you, I'm not gonna be able to follow you. I gonna be frustrated, and you're gonna be frustrated because of the expectation. We have limits, and the first thing that you have to understand is you need to know the limit of every person, and you have to manage so you don't get them to be burned out. And at the beginning, when you start a business, and that was one of the key element for us in our company to succeed. It was we chose each other, because I don't want to say we chose myself and Francois and Claude, the partners. We had complementarity. We complemented each other in terms of skills, and that was key for us because we knew each other from working together in the same company. So we trusted each other. That's very important for us. It was the trust. We knew our values, and we knew that we have a drive. We want to be successful. Then I was the sales and finance and marketing guy. Francois was the visionary guy for the technology. Claude was the geek guy that was super good developer. So as a team, we were self-sufficient to start our business. And this is a very, it helped a company be successful because, as you know, the beginning of a company is the most difficult part because you need the team uh, to go and recruit strong teams at the beginning when you're a small company, unless that you have this great idea and you get millions and millions of dollars on investment. It's very hard to recruit because no one wants to come and work for a small company not knowing if tomorrow they have a job. So we were able to be self-sufficient at the beginning and be, not need to recruit any any skills at the beginning. And this is for us was important. Obviously, with time, when you start to grow and you have money and you are recruiting the right people is always key. I mean, because yes, as I said, success is about execution. Execution is people behind it. You don't exit. I mean, because we all talk about, as I said, strategy. Strategy. There's tons of strategy. Now ChatGPT can give you strategy. You can ask ChatGPT to give you strategy about something. It's even easier than before. It's the execution that makes the difference. The flawless execution, and behind the execution is a human. So you need to choose your team based on your value, based on what you're expecting. And as I said, the most important thing is you cannot expect from them what you expect from yourself, because you're the leader and you have to know the limit of each of them, because some of them, maybe they have the drive. They are those entrepreneurs, as we call them. You have to motivate them. You need to make sure that they're gonna keep this drive. Some of them, they have limit, so you need to make sure to work with a team that have different limits.
George, you picked the right team, you built the company, It was successful. After more than a decade, how do you know that it was it easy to let go? How do you know that was the right time to sell?
Well, it was how to know first. I gotta start with how to know. I and this is me again, there is no right formula because a lot of entrepreneurs will look at me and say, you made a mistake. I had a very successful business. We were 3,000 employee, the first exit we did in 2012. We were the largest service provider of, outsourcing services for telecom companies in Canada. We had no investor, no debt. We were 100% private, you know, four shareholders. Me and Francois, we were 40% each, and Claude 10%, and our seed money angel investor 10%, Pierre. I was tired. I was tired, and I was kind of having, and this is my personality. Some people would stay in the same project forever. Me, I got bored. And it was like after 3, 4 months, not having this drive, because one of the ingredient of success in business for entrepreneurs is to have the passion and drive, because this is what push you to work every day nonstop. And when you lose the passion and the drive, you're gonna be floating. And after 3 months of not having drive in my own business, Francois, my partner, was already, like he had retired from the operation, so it was only me. I felt that it was time for me to let go. So we spoke with my partners, and they all agreed that, okay, George, I mean, you're the one that you're working. We will support uh, your decision. So we put the company for sale, and we sold it. Now, the biggest question for me, or like the biggest lesson after, it was not about letting go. And like a lot of people tell you, this is like your family, your kids, your children. Honestly, I don't believe in this, and I don't think this way, because when someone tells you, like business is like family, I don't get rid of my kids if something is wrong, like, because if I tell you business is a family, I'm not gonna let any employee goes, because I mean we gotta have to stick together. So business is not a family, and it's not my kids, because I have two kids, Noel and Joseph. Business is business, and personally, it's like some people are attached to material stuff. Like they have a car and they sell their car and they cry after because they have memories, or their first house. Me, to be quite honest, I don't care about it. Like when I sell something, I can become detached emotionally right away, because I took the decision to sell it, and I need to respect the new buyers, because I mean they gave me money, and it was my decision, so I have to know to let go. And I lived this experience with some partners where I bought a business, and they kept a percentage of ownership, and they wanted to stay in the company, and they were not able to let go. And it's like, man, like this is like you sold your house and you still want to sleep in the master bedroom. You can't do that. You sold it. Let go. So for me, the problem was not about letting go my company. It was what to do next, because I was not prepared for the next. I sold it because I was tired, but after staying, and I was supposed to actually after stay in the business as to run it with the private equity, and we didn't get along together at the beginning, and so I gave them my resignation because I was not aligned with their vision. And that's something for me extremely important. Is like in a company, you have to go. There's one direction. You cannot have uh, um, you cannot have a team where someone is going right and someone is going left. And I always say, company is not democracy. We can ask opinion. A CEO will take a decision. You need to, if you don't agree, you either don't agree but are on board, or you don't agree and you quit. But you cannot don't agree and complain and be, like someone that's gonna work against the current. So I gave my resignation, and it was not planned. But then I felt after 2 months, or not even 2 weeks, didn't take me long to see like who am I? Because we define ourselves also by our job, by our identity was
Mm.
George was CEO of Atalca, 3,000 employee. All of a sudden, he's staying home. He had to watch Netflix, go to the gym at 9 instead going at 6 in the morning, having free time. So I felt a huge like gap, emptiness in my life, and I was not ready for selling my business. Luckily, after 3, 4 months, this private equity realized that I had the right vision. I don't want to talk about the right and wrong. I had the right vision, and they did not understand the business because it wasn't new for them, this industry. So they realized, and this is a good, strong, recognition of their leadership, that they were able to say, no, you know what, actually, we were wrong, you were right, George, about how
Mhm.
you wanted to grow this business. So they called me back because they had hired a CEO and they had to let him go. And they called me back and said, would you want to come back and
Mhm.
manage the business? So without hesitation, I went back the following day to the office and I stayed with them 2 years, and then I, moved to another business after. When I sold the last one in 2022, at least I was ready mentally that, okay, I might not go back to an operation. I have investment, I have other stuff. My identity was not anymore my work. Now, like I said, it took me 3 years to realize that I still have the drive
Mhm.
to do it. And I'm going back not being, I'm going back and I'm happy because I need, I still have the strength, and the knowledge and the wisdom, which is actually the best years of your life now as an entrepreneur. I've have 25 years. I made mistake and I made some good decision, and so why not sharing this with the younger generation, with an executive? So this is for me was I would say, the most important lesson I learned from when I sold the businesses.
Mhm. George, I know we're running out of time, but I want to squeeze in one more question.
Go ahead.
Um, Nowadays, you spoke about new industries. Nowadays, everyone's talking about AI, and building a new company is just ridiculously easy. You have so many different tools. So my question to you is, with the recent stories of these giant companies being just empty shells without any substance, how are you able to differentiate between an AI company that actually has a future or an AI company that just has AI in its name?
And thanks God, when I look at the industry now, I say, thanks God, I did not start like my career in an era like now where you have so many changes, and AI is really changing the entire industry, if you want, of in technology and other businesses, because now it's something new. You have to adapt, and it's not like the adaptation like 15, 20 years ago
Mhm.
when we had, let's say, the Google and the internet. This now it's a new way of thinking, and it's a challenging because at first it's not only about productivity. It's replacing, it's changing the way we're doing business. There's some job definitely is going to be disappearing completely. In my industry, in the call center and the support now, uh, you don't need agents anymore. You don't need human. You can have them with age like AI agents, like, and you think you're talking to a person. So you need to adapt your software, you need to adapt your everything in your company. So it's very hard. I mean, to be quite honest, I'm still myself learning this now and trying to see whether I get into business, how I can assess the risk of the AI in it, whether this complete industry gonna disappear or is gonna be an advantage. One thing is for sure, we will adapt. Companies that are gonna be pushing back, those are the companies that they lose. The companies that they understand that they have no choice other than adapting, learning, being more curious, understanding the industry, those are the companies that are gonna be successful. So it's listening, is reading about it more and more, understanding your industry, the impact of the tools that we use now. It is extremely important more than ever to see, to assess the risk or the potential business like opportunities.
Well, I really appreciate your honesty. It was an honor having you on, George. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Antoine. Good luck. Thank you.